I'm a 37M dietitian cook at a nursing home. Normally I work every other weekend, but due to staffing shortages, I've had to work the past 2 weekends in a row. Unfortunately, that means I won't have a full weekend off all month. To make up for it, my boss has given me June 4th and 5th off, which I'm really looking forward to. My girlfriend, 33, has an uncle, who we'll call Tiger. He recently took a week off work to visit the Dominican Republic, but things didn't go as planned. He's really upset. So my girlfriend decided to spend time with him yesterday, Saturday, to cheer him up while I was at work. They were supposed to be at his house, which is a project house he's renovating, and where he lives with his mom, who's also my girlfriend's mom, because she raised her, even though she's biologically her grandmother. Meanwhile, my girlfriend messaged me at work I'm on a 12:30 p.m. to 8:30 or 9 p.m. schedule to say they decided to cook at our place instead. I was okay with that. When I texted her at 8:30 p.m. to let her know I was heading home, she told me they were just sitting down to eat. What struck me as odd was that she'd mentioned cooking hours earlier, so I knew Tiger would still be there when I arrived. I was exhausted, hungry, and not in the mood to socialize after a chaotic day at work. As an introvert, I crave peace and quiet when I get home, and I wasn't looking forward to entertaining anyone. Before my girlfriend and I moved in together, we had a conversation about having guests over when the other person comes home from work. We both agreed that it was disruptive and disrespectful to the person coming home to have to entertain company without any prior notice or time to mentally prepare ourselves. We wanted to make sure we had a mutual understanding to respect each other's boundaries and need for alone time after a long day. As I walked into the house, I was surprised to see not only Tiger but also her mom, and they had just started watching a movie. The strong smell of curry hit me like a punch to the nose, which I absolutely detest. My girlfriend and I had discussed this before, as she doesn't like me cooking meat in the house because of the smell, and I feel the same way about curry. The smell of curry makes my stomach turn, especially when it's overpowering. Out of respect for my girlfriend's wishes, I've never cooked meat in the house, but it seems like my own wishes weren't considered this time. I walked in, was hit with the overwhelming curry smell, and felt my stomach turn. Despite my discomfort, I went over to greet my girlfriend's mom and Tiger, making small talk to be polite. But as soon as I could, I escaped to the one room that didn't smell like curry, our bedroom. From there, I texted my girlfriend, "You didn't tell me your mom was coming over too." And what about our plans to watch Clash at the Castle? I was trying to convey my surprise and frustration without being too confrontational. Here's a rewritten version of part 7 in the first person, using simple and familiar language. Clash at the Castle is a WWE event, and I'm a massive wrestling fan. Earlier that day, before she left with Tiger and her mom, who was never mentioned to me, I reminded her that it was happening today and that my plan was to watch it when I got home and relax. She agreed to the plan, but clearly, that didn't end up happening. I was looking forward to a chill evening watching wrestling, but instead, I walked into a house full of guests and a strong curry smell. My girlfriend's family ended up staying until after 10 p.m., and I'm still fuming about it. She's accusing me of being controlling and rude to her family, but I don't think I'm the one in the wrong here. I had a long and exhausting day at work, and I didn't expect to come home to a house full of guests without any warning. It feels like no one considered my needs or boundaries. My girlfriend always promises that she'll make sure her guests leave by the time I get home, but this is the third time it hasn't happened, and she always turns it around on me. I feel like I'm being unfairly blamed for being upset about something that's not my fault. We went to bed without speaking because she refused to acknowledge her mistake, which only made me angrier. I've always honored our agreements, but last night felt like a clear violation of our understanding. I felt villainized and disrespected. I even made an effort to come out and say goodbye to her family, and I spoke to them politely. However, I didn't hang out with them because the smell of curry was overwhelming. I was exhausted from work, and most importantly, they were not my guests and I hadn't agreed to host them. It felt like my boundaries were completely disregarded. Here's a rewritten version of the final part in the first person, using simple and familiar language. So, I'm seeking clarity. Am I the one in the wrong here? Do I need to apologize? If so, what exactly am I apologizing for? I feel like I've been respecting our agreements and boundaries, but it seems like she's not holding up her end of the bargain. At what point can I expect her to respect our agreements like I do? I'm tired of feeling like my needs and boundaries are being ignored. I want to know if I'm being unreasonable or if my expectations are fair. Story 2. I'm a 27F and I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend, who's 28, for about a year now. To be honest, it's been a bit of a struggle and I'm looking for some outside help to figure things out. My boyfriend is really passionate about his band and he spends most of his free time rehearsing. He works a full-time job, but music is his true love. I know it can be super stressful for him, so I've always tried to be supportive and understanding. I want him to pursue his dreams, even if it means putting in long hours. In the past, my boyfriend would go out of his way to spend quality time with me. He'd plan dates and make sure to see me, even when his schedule was crazy busy. He made me feel like I was a priority, like I mattered. He was great at balancing his passions, work, and friendships while still making me feel loved, appreciated, and secure. He showed me that I was important to him, and that meant everything to me. About 6 months into our relationship, things started to change. My boyfriend began to pull away, and it felt like he was creating distance between us. He'd get weird about sleeping over at my place, preferring to stay at his own, even though my place is actually quieter and more private. Our conversations started to feel forced and boring, and we began arguing more often. I felt like I was being neglected, and he just kept saying he was busy. It was like he was withdrawing from me, and he spends his free time drinking with his friends. I've tried to talk to him about how worried I am about his drinking, but he just shrugs it off, saying it's part of his job as a musician. He says he can't let his friends down, but it feels like he's prioritizing them over me. Whenever I try to have an honest conversation about my feelings, he gets annoyed and shuts down. It's like he's uncomfortable with emotional talks. We keep having the same arguments, and nothing ever changes, no matter how hard I try to communicate my concerns. It feels like we're stuck in a cycle, and I don't know how to break free. After his weekend parties, he'd sometimes see me, but often cancel at the last minute because he was too hungover. I haven't slept over at his place in months because he prefers to sleep alone and gets grumpy if I wake up early. It feels like I'm only seeing him on his terms, like I'm waiting for him to fit me into his schedule. I've told him how I feel, but he gets defensive and says he's doing his best. The truth is, I know he used to make more of an effort. Now, whenever I plan a date or try to spend quality time together, he either cancels or acts distant, like I'm forcing him to be there. It feels like he's not even trying anymore. We had planned a vacation together, but he canceled at the last minute because of a conflicting event. He promised to join me later, but then changed his mind, saying it was too much hassle. But I really want him to be there with me. I've already booked all the activities and I don't have anyone else to share them with. To be honest, I'm not comfortable traveling alone, so that's not an option for me. I'm feeling stuck and disappointed that he's not following through on his commitments. If I'm being honest, I'd tell someone in my shoes to walk away from this relationship. But the truth is, I still have strong feelings for him. Sometimes, we have moments where everything feels like it used to, like when we first started dating. Those moments give me hope that things can go back to how they were. It's like my heart is holding on to those rare moments, and it's hard for me to let go. I feel like I'm wasting my time on someone who can't make up his mind or simply doesn't want me. I've been unhappy and confused for a while now. I need some objective advice. Is it worth fighting for this relationship? He says he's trying, but his actions don't show it. I'm exhausted from feeling like I'm only a convenience for him, not a priority. Yet, despite all this, I still love him. I know he's struggling with depression, anxiety, and other issues, but he refuses to seek help or work on them. Instead, he uses alcohol to escape his problems. I'm at a loss and don't know what to do.